All right, everybody, it's time to take this all-new Leaf out on the road so that we can take a look at the performance of this model. Now, you notice I'm joined by my good friend Sofyan over at Redline Reviews. I'm sure you've seen many of his videos out there on YouTube. And we're, like I said, going to take this all-new Leaf out, show you guys the performance of it, ride quality, handling, power, the whole 9 yards. So let's go ahead and get started though with a hard acceleration. All right, we made it to 60. We're coming up pretty quick on the fire truck there, but we did make it to 60 miles an hour on a pretty flat surface there in the Leaf. So what we're looking at with this model is, of course, you have your new battery pack and all that we were describing previously. It's a 75 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack. And since we have the higher powered version, there will be a lower powered version that comes out later on. This has 214 horsepower. Now, in terms of acceleration, obviously, those are not huge power numbers. This is not designed to be a high performance machine. That being said, you do have a lot of instantaneous electric torque. And I think for a lot of people, or maybe even most people who buy this model, this could be their first electric vehicle. And when you're comparing this to, more of an entry-level gas-powered crossover, I think you're going to be more than satisfied with the overall acceleration, especially, again, that kind of torquey feel that you get when you come off the line. All right, we'll do another acceleration since no one's behind us. Yeah, I'm definitely satisfied with this overall power. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you are used to driving, like you said, a slow, gas-powered economy car, this is going to be, a huge difference for speed. I think when we were testing with my equipment earlier, we got 7.5 seconds, which is fast enough. Although, when's the last time you drove, a Bolt or a Kona electric or a Nero electric, if you have driven one of those?
It's been a while.
The Bolt was definitely the one that, everybody talked about because it was the cheapest option out there. It was also fast. When that car first came out, it was like a hot hatch and you could roast the front tires. So this definitely doesn't have that eagerness, but I think Nissan has purposely made it feel a little more, restrained off the line because they don't want people burning out the wheels when they first start out.
Yeah, definitely. You can see that in the gauge cluster there showing you your percent power. They have it tuned where it builds slowly, that way that you don't roast the tires constantly.
Which would be more fun.
Yeah, we'd have more fun with it, but I guess the average customer looking for the Leaf doesn't need that in their daily life.
Right.
And that kind of brings us to another point. We don't have all-wheel drive with this package. So, of course, with this platform, it shares a lot of things with the Aria. It's Nissan's EV platform. It's a dedicated platform, so they could add all-wheel drive at some point, but for now, Nissan isn't saying they have any plans to do all-wheel drive. This is a model that's, going for that really attractive price point. So it makes sense in this application to just go with front-wheel drive, have just one electric motor on the front wheels. And I think this, again, just is checking those boxes off for that person who's looking for a very affordable electric crossover, or really just affordable crossover in general.
Yeah, affordability is key with the Leaf. This car has been around since 2010, if I remember correctly, and I think Nissan said they've sold over 600,000 globally. So even though Tesla gets all the credit, for selling as many EVs as they do, Nissan was the first to bring it to the mass market at a much more affordable price. And the cool thing about this car, Drew, is it's actually cheaper versus when it first came out 15 years ago.
Yeah, I know. That blows my mind. It is absolutely incredible because, of course, we see you guys' comments. The car prices are gone crazy, right? Inflation has blown up certain segments of vehicle. This is not really one of those things. The fact that they give you so much more with this third generation versus the previous two at an even lower price point is frankly incredible.
Yeah, and they were able to do that while also giving us a vehicle that feels more premium. That was the one thing they had mentioned. They gave it an independent rear suspension, so it rides better, it handles better, and we have all this technology that's even better versus their more expensive Aria, which is kind of crazy to think.
Yeah, for sure. Nissan was talking a lot about, that class above feel. I do think the Leaf definitely has that. This road we're driving on right now is fairly rough, and I'm not feeling a ton of imperfections penetrate the cabin. I was talking about earlier with Sophion just the comfort of the seats, the zero gravity seats. I think Nissan does just a tremendous job with those, really in their whole lineup. But even on affordable models, they keep that comfort so that you can, well, of course, have that even if you have a cheaper vehicle. Now, as I'm going around the corners here, I'll talk a little bit about the dynamic capability of the Leaf. Not the big focus of this model, of course. That being said, it's far from incompetent. As we go around the corners, the body feels fairly balanced. Obviously, you keep that weight down low, as you typically do with EVs in the battery pack. And because of that, the handling feels pretty spry, again, compared to probably more of the entry-level crossovers that a lot of customers are going to be coming from. Now, we've been driving around in the sport mode so far. Obviously, we're on a pretty twisty road, so it's a good application of that. But you do have some other drive modes you can choose, including an eco mode for maximizing the range. And there's also a customizable mode where you can make your own combination of different characteristics from the different drive modes. Included within that is your regen settings. So you've got a few different choices that you can adjust with the paddle shifters that are on the steering wheel. Nissan also gives you E-Step, which is nearly a one-pedal drive, but it's not quite. So it won't take you to a complete stop like many of this vehicle's rivals, unfortunately, but it does have a very strong feel that takes you most of the way to the stop. Nissan was saying that this has something to do with regulations, particularly with the Japanese market, but it's something they might be looking to add in the future. But just know for now you don't have a true one-pedal driving mode.
Yeah, which I guess depends on everyone's personal preference. Like for me, I enjoy using the one-pedal drive, but at the same time, I think some people may find it to be annoying. But I think an option to just be able to turn it on and off is probably what they should do in the future, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we're in beautiful Southern California, but we're going to still attempt to get a sound level reading for you guys. So let's get up to 55 miles per hour, and we'll give it a try.
Showing 59.2.
Okay. Not too bad. Again, like I said, we're in Southern California, so we'll wait till we get this model back to Kentucky to get the official sound level reading, but I wanted to make sure to give you guys, a little sample of what you might be expecting. Even though this is a more affordable product, I think it sounds relatively quiet in here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it rides really nice. There's very little road and wind noise. It feels like it'd be a great road trip car, honestly. And even with the bigger tires, like I was expecting the tires to have more, I guess, noise and produce more of an impact harshness. But no, I think Nissan has done an amazing job at making this thing feel a class above market, which is something that the old Leaf didn't have. That thing always felt like a cheap economy car.
Yeah, definitely. And, even though this is a very sleek car, aerodynamically, you're looking at 0.26 coefficient of drag, they still maintain fairly large windows, so I think visibility is pretty nice. The only thing, the back glass is a little small, but not as bad as like a Prius or something like that. Right. And if in the future they decide to offer a smart camera mirror, that would kind of make up for that fact as well. And lastly here, I want to talk a little bit about range, because of course that's very important. So with the larger battery pack, the Platinum will give you the lowest amount of range. It's going to be 259 miles. That being said, obviously, big improvement over the previous Leaf models as well. And then the maximum range is going to be 303 miles with the S Plus version. So if you get the base model, you'll sacrifice a little bit in terms of like styling. Nissan was talking about a big part of the range is the wheel option. So this obviously has the nice stylish wheels. If you're okay with actually having Steelies with hubcaps, then you get up to that 303 miles, which is very impressive though with the price point, I think, for sure, being above 300 miles.
Yeah, because if you look at the competitors, they would do around like 250, 260. So the fact that you can get in most, Nissan says that most customers will choose the SV Plus, which has 288 miles of range because of the 18-inch wheels. I think that's going to be like the sweet spot. So I'll be curious to see what people actually get in the real world.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of the lower battery pack option, we don't really have a lot of details about that yet. Nissan says that they plan on releasing more information about that soon, but that is 53 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack. So a decent chunk is going to be lost in terms of the capacity, but we'll see how it ends up shaking out with the actual range. No pricing has been released on that model, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Now I went ahead and part so I can give you guys some charging specifications. Now, like we mentioned in part 1 of this Leaf review, this actually comes with 2 different chargers. You have one side that's basically for home charging, the other side is for fast charging, and they have different charge ports. So the home side is a CCS charger, and then the fast charge, that's going to be the new NACS, aka the Tesla charger that you can use at supercharging stations. So just be aware of that little bit of a difference, and depending on what you want to use, you could maybe need 2 different adapters. Now, so the level 2 CCS port is capable of 7.2 kilowatt home charging. The NACS fast charger, that's capable of 150 kilowatt fast charging. That's going to get you 10 to 80% in about 35 minutes. This vehicle is also vehicle to load capable, meaning that you can power different types of tools or camping accessories or things that you might be using on a trip. I also want to mention the pricing of this model. Like I already mentioned earlier in the video, the lower battery capacity is not quite available yet. Even so, the S Plus, which designates the higher capacity battery, still starts at under $30,000. So you're at $29,990 for that model. And then as you move up the trim structure, you add about $4,000 for each of the trims that you jump up. When you get up to this Platinum Plus trim level, that's going to start at about $38,990. And after you add in the destination, you're still going to be right at that $40,000 price point. Obviously, very compelling price, especially on the lower end. And, you know, that future model with the lower capacity battery, we're seeing rumors on the web. Now, Nissan's not saying anything official, but we're seeing rumors that might be like $26,000, which would by far make this the cheapest new electric crossover that you can buy in America. So definitely a very compelling price point, not just really even for an EV, but just as one of the most affordable crossovers you can get these days. And that's where I'm going to leave off today's part 2 video with the all-new 2026 Nissan Leaf. Hopefully you enjoyed these detailed driving impressions of what it is like to live with this Leaf out on the road. And if you did, please go down below and click subscribe. That's how you tell automakers that you value our content. And hopefully you found this very informative for your future buying decisions. If you're interested in buying a Nissan Leaf or any new model, also head over to carconfections.com/newcarquotes, where you can get connected to the best price at your local car dealerships. Catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.